Hello and welcome to another episode of Saint Olga. We have a familiar face. It's key member of the Montauk class of '69, and he's back with intriguing and complex memories spanning multiple authors. And we'll be focusing on the Japanese pedophilic industry and consciousness transfer technology. But was going to start with the early beginnings, which I believe since we last talked, you have figured out your true identity, let's say.
Well, from what I can surmise, I mean, obviously I'm what you would call a star seed, meaning my original life would be like on an ET world somewhere, like a really long time ago, like really, really, really long time ago. But my first human life was as Jacob Emmerman, the son of Carl Emmerman, and who the SSP community knows as Penny Bradley. So she's my mom. Carl Emmerman is my father. From what
That's
I
a bold claim.
recall,
You know how that works? I mean, how the two came to co-create?
yeah, assassins. So they were they he was an assassin and she was an assassin, and I guess they would get sent on little missions together, and they copulated on one of them, and I was the result of that. My memories of my original life mostly have to do with my wife in that lifetime, and that part of my life, that part of my family. Those are those most intense memories. Arguably, one of the reasons why I remember is because she grew up in the same town as me and stuff. Very complicated, but that helped me remember things. And yeah, if you look at Carl and me, it's pretty obvious. Like, he really looks like my so-called biological father in the here and now. And yeah, I guess they call him the old man because he's has a lot of kids. And from what I can tell, um, John was telling you in an interview that I watched with you about how the secret space program started through seances, and that's
Mm.
true. Michelle Lammy, that witch lady that has been pictured with like Travis Scott and all these different celebrities that are connected to like the satanic occult. She was part of the ritual to bring me in, I think. I wasn't obviously there for my own like copulation, but I do know that as John has testified, John Whitberg, to being Sobek, the Egyptian god. I am, and this is another one where it's like people don't. I don't know how to filter like what's too crazy, what isn't. So I'm just gonna come out and say it. I'm
Sure.
supposedly, and I like to say instead of saying I am, I think a more accurate way of saying is I am connected to in some way. Maybe I am the sun god Ra, like Ra himself, and my partner Catherine is Hathor, and people make all sorts of claims like this all the time. A lot of times people are lying. So I could see how it could just be annoying to even like hear a claim like that. I get it. But I feel like it's important because Project Ibis happened. It was a really important part of the programs. It's a really important aspect to all of this is the fact that they were more or less summoning the gods into human form to like control them for these projects, basically, is what they were doing. And yeah, all we were is like more advanced ET. So the story gets convoluted through the human lens because humans are still children that are learning a lot about themselves and the universe and how things work. But yeah, that's a big part of my story is just Project Ibis being summoned in through basically these satanic forces. And then also it just keeps getting crazier. Like it does. I'm connected to the actual Christ lineage. Like Jesus Christ had children with Mary Magdalene. And so the Ark of the Covenant would technically be like his bloodline, I guess. And I am part of that bloodline. And I don't really want to get into the details of where I am on that family tree. All I got to say is that the satanic people, the Satanists, they really like to kidnap us, do stuff to us, use us in rituals and things like that. They really get off on it. And I think the fact that they're able to basically turn me into a Montauk time soldier that was known as the Shield of Baphomet when I was, connected to the bloodline of Jesus. That's like a weird psychological mind game win in their mind, in their eyes, I think, is the fact that they made somebody who's part of that bloodline make them satanic. I mean, that to them is like the greatest thing. So, and it's been a realization lately, realizing because they like to use me in these rituals so much, kind of this whole why me all the time in a lot of these situations where I'm not doing time soldier stuff. They're like using me for rituals and things. It makes so much more sense now that I know that I'm from the bloodline of Christ. That makes a lot of sense to me. So I've been trying to, through reading and stuff and research, learn more about it, and also to the best of my abilities, remember the stuff I can about the real actual Jesus, what that all meant, what actually went down. Because obviously it's got convoluted and turned into mind control. I do remember what he looked like. I do remember that I actually literally met Jesus. I literally actually was in the same room with him during like time missions and stuff like that. The memories aren't super clear that yet, but I just remember that I know what he looks like. I saw him, I've come in contact with him, I know what he looks like. And it's been said by people in modern times, that whole image of the white Jesus with the long brown hair. That's not what he looks like at all. He looked like a Palestinian kind of or something like that. I don't know how to explain it. He had pretty bronze skin, not super dark, black hair. He did have black hair. Yeah, I actually remember seeing him, and I think that I might have been one of the people who was like one of the Roman, because the Montauk conversion stuff. I think I might have been one of the Roman soldiers who was there when he was being hung on the cross per a time mission, which I really don't remember. I just have a feeling about it, and I feel like it's something that maybe I don't want to ever remember because they whipped him and tortured him and stuff. And I think I might have been one of those soldiers, which is really sad. But yeah, sorry, I'm just like rambling. You can
No,
ask
no
me.
problem. Although I would like to unpack because you dropped a mother load right there, you know. And about Jesus, I would say that first of all, I have it on pretty good authority that the one in the Bible isn't even the original true, D12 level Christ, but the
Mhm.
Anunnaki one, D9, which also left a lineage and stuff, but it's not, the pure one. And also the one that was crucified was actually just a path, as Farside have also done a remote viewing on that, which showed that he was never crucified because that was just an effort by the negative alien agenda to promote black sacrifice, stuff like that. But
That makes
uh,
sense.
I'm fully behind you that you are part of it. The question is it the Anunnaki Jesus or the original, apparently Andromedan D12, who also left some offspring, and it was an effort to boost the overall, vibration of the planet, but it was through very specific rituals, not just one woman, but 6 different ones. But anyways, I wanted to go back to the raw thing because I don't want to gloss it, because just tell us if you have like distinct, clear memories that would suggest, that would certify it for yourself that you are him and not just, an implanted memory.
So the raw stuff I do have memories of. The Jesus stuff is all really blurry, and I think it's because of Montauk time missions and not necessarily because of me being part of the lineage. So it's kind of like not connected to me being part of the lineage, but yet maybe it is because that's the reason why I'm there in the first place. But yeah, I just remember seeing him. I had a profound spiritual experience recently where letters of things will rearrange for me when I look at stuff and they'll spell out things. And a lot of times it's messages telling me stuff. And I just had this one where it said whip Jesus and it disturbed me and sent me down this whole rabbit hole. And I consulted with somebody who, out of respect for them, I'm not going to name who it is, but who told me that I was part of the somebody that I trust a lot, who is the one who told me that, like, hey, you're part of the. I kind of already knew it. I've even talked about it in interviews, but they basically explained to me that I'm closer to the source, meaning like the top of the family tree, than I originally thought. I thought I was just one of like thousands of people on the planet or whatever that are probably part of that lineage by now, or I don't know, hundreds at least, right?
Mm.
But I guess I'm closer than I don't really want to. I'm still learning a lot about it. The raw stuff, however, I remember more of. From what I recall, we had something called the Council of Ra, and Ra had to do with the all and like the religion, which is there's the Book of Ra. I think it was a lot like that. The idea of Ra is like we're all one being. What is done to one being is done to all beings. This kind of idea. And
Law of one.
Law of One, yeah. And so I think that's kind of where that title comes from. And it doesn't literally mean just like a person named Ra. So, for instance, the fact that I call myself Arkheim Ra, I think I maybe just had the title for a period of time. The memories, like I said, this is thousands of years ago, kind of blurry. Some of the memories, though, because of them being emotional moments, they're pretty clear. So I'll get into some of those memories. Basically, what I remember is that humans being made by a different ET was controversial from the get go. There were ET that said, like, beings out there in the universe that were like, you shouldn't do this. It's basically you're being lazy and you're making slaves. And they're like, no, we want progress and we're making servants. It's all about how you frame it, right? And so, despite many of these beings who invented human being like extremely ancient, wise beings that you think would know better, and maybe they kind of did deep down, they decided to make human beings. There's a vote, galactic votes on it, and things like that. You could argue that the only reason the vote even went through is because of corruption, because there were people that knew the power of it. So that's why they let it pass through to begin with. And basically, my memories of Earth were it was kind of like a wild place. Just anything could pretty much happen here. Just all sorts of wild stuff was going on. Centaurs like running around, aliens running around. Just people showed up here to do wild things because it's sort of like a backwater section of space that's like out on the edge of the Milky Way and just. But I remember it being important, and I remember like the portals and the stargates, and it just being a very politically important place. And like all eyes were on Gaia, Terra. It's very rarely is it actually called Earth. It's called Terra or Gaia, more so. But anyway, so we made the humans because we wanted to build certain things. We're too important to get our hands dirty and do all that. Let's make the humans do it all. It's like everybody says. If
Yeah,
you're
but
into if you're into conspiracy stuff, everybody knows like the story of Sumerians putting gold in their atmosphere. There are multiple different kinds of aliens on the planet with different human like groups that were following them. You have a question? Or?
that maybe you're burying the lead a little bit, which is the fact that, there's information, including the one I cited about Jesus. That body of knowledge says that most of the Egyptian and other pantheons, like the Greek, are actually fallen angelics. And it's not that they created humans, it's that they infiltrated humanity and used them to bolster their own degrading genetic templates. And of course, this resulted in all the races we know today. And now we are all at least partly fallen angel, which is why we have so much conflict within us. But the idea is that it's a trick by the negative aliens to make us believe that they created us, whereas they're just piggybacking on our ability to go up through the rungs of ascension. And that's why they are using our creative ability and other things. But
That sounds like it could be true, and maybe I got things wrong. But from what I remember is we, created them. That's what I remember. I remember that the human beings got created by aliens.
I'm sure
So
that everyone today on Earth is the descendant of those negative aliens. That I'm sure about. That's how much of a stamp they have left. But didn't you also say in past interviews that you believe that you're now doing a sort of penance for your crimes back when you were this ancient Egyptian god?
sorta, yeah. I do kind of agree with that. And I was going to get into how we didn't necessarily make the very great decisions. And it wasn't that we were evil. We weren't evil. It was that we didn't understand the weight of our impact on the timeline, on the universe, and the fact of like human beings, like it's kind of like how Earth humans would look at rats when they're doing experiments on them. It's not right that we do that to rats. You know what I mean? It's not. It's kind of like the same thing where like, well, they're just humans, whatever. We kind of had that mentality, and it was because we thought we were so wise and so great, and we really needed to be humbled, and that happened. So I'll tell you the story if you
Please.
would like. What I remember is, like I said, and I'm not saying I could have it slightly wrong or something. Maybe we didn't create them and just infiltrate them, but from what I remember is different ET races had different groups. And I had a certain group of humans. Well, we did. And they're building pyramids and stuff like that. It's kind of blurry, like I said, but the big thing that I really remember is like I left. And this is why I'm called Arkeem Ra, because it's a title given to me. And it means a lot of different things, but Arkheim, like I was always moving around and that ship was my home more than Earth or any other planet. And so I left and I came back and so much stuff had changed. Me and my people, when we came back, so much stuff had changed. We were probably gone for a few hundred years or whatever, but to us that was like nothing. Basically, like Earths, they went from being down here. They did what they were told. They thought we were gods. They didn't know how the universe worked really. We just kind of told them all these crazy stories. And then when I got there were Anunnaki breeding with them, so there were half human, half like gods. And some of them were ascended masters, and there were humans that were in charge of like really important things. There were even humans guarding stargates and stuff. And I was just like, what the hell happened? I was like, these humans guarding stargates and breeding with people and stuff. What the hell happened while I was gone? I was thought it was crazy. And there's that whole ancient Sumerian thing, which from what I recall is true, where they're like the sound of their mating offended our ears or whatever. It's in the hieroglyphics too. We just were like, man, these humans are dangerous. They're a problem. There's too many of them. Like, this is out of our hands now. Like, we thought we had them under control, and now they're not. And they're children with access to like stargates and all this technology that they wouldn't on their own invent for a really long time, and they're not ready for it. You know what I mean? And it was just to us like code red when we came back. It was like going to a party where everybody's blasted off cocaine and drunk and all these crazy things are happening, and you show up to the party sober and you're the only person standing there being like, what the fuck are you guys doing? This is debauchery. That's what it was like. That's what it felt like for me when I got back to Earth. I was like, what the hell is going on here? You guys are crazy. And I just remember like the feeling of almost fear. And there was a decision made within the council. There was 12 of us and the head of it. And so I think the head of it was actually like literally Thoth. I think that would change sometimes, but basically there was a vote on what are we going to do with these humans. And there were some options. And one of the options was to just kill them all. Just kill them all. And to be specific, though, it would be our humans because the different ETs that own the different groups, they're like, these are our humans. We own them, and we respected each other's claim of ownership to the different groups of ETs. It's like farmers with cattle. It's literally what it was like. And if you recall, the hieroglyphics literally state how the people of ancient Egypt called themselves what? Do you remember? The cattle of Ra. Like they call themselves the cattle of Ra.
And they called us Lulu.
Lulu?
Yeah, meaning fools in simple sense.
Yeah, which I think is insulting and not right. And we did kind of think that way. I think I was, to be honest with you, and I know I was an arrogant asshole, but I think I was a little bit more understanding than some of my counterparts. There were a few of them who were actually super cool who from the beginning were like, you can't just kill them all. What the hell is wrong with you guys? I remember that. And in fact, it was close. It was a close vote. But we did vote on it, and it was to kill all of our humans. Ours. So not all the humans on Earth, because there are different ones, but our group. So we started to try to kill them all. And that's the story of the Sekhmet coming down and getting drunk off of the blood, and then they had to fill the river with red beer to make her drink it, and because she thought it was blood, and get her drunk and get her to chill out and not fight. And that was Lyrans, really. It wasn't one person, and the Lyrans were some of the cat people were the ones who really hated the humans the most from the beginning. They just thought it was like they didn't want them around, they didn't like them, and they were very quick to be like, "Yeah, we'll go kill them. We don't. Yeah, you want to kill them all? We'll do it for you." They hated them. But then in the middle of all this, as it was happening, unfortunately, some of it was like the moral compass. 25% of it maybe kicking in. You're like, oh wait, these are our children. Unfortunately, to be honest with you, that was like 25%. The 75% of the decision that swayed us was the fact that they were kicking our asses. Humans can fight in war. Like we were losing people and stuff. Like we did not foresee that. We're like, oh, this will be easy. They're idiots. They're simpletons, right? Like you said. That's what we thought of them. Nope. They were extremely strategic in war, and we did stuff where we're like, how'd they think of that? You know what I mean? Like, they just seriously fucked us. Like, and so I remember I went down to, I think it might have been King Herod. It was one of the kings. I might be wrong, but it was one of the famous kings of the Bible times. And I went down there and I was in bird form and everything. And I remember speaking with him. And when I came down there, his attitude was of a warrior. It's like, dude, go fuck yourself. You're going to come to me and tell me I got to give you this, that, and the other thing. You ain't getting shit. Was kind of. And I was like, whoa, 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 guy. This is not how I'm speaking like a modern Earth human. This is not how the conversation went at all, to be clear. I was like, well, wait a minute. Hold on, guy. I was like, you don't get it. We fucked up. All right. And he was really shocked by that. He's like, yeah, you did. I was like, yeah, you're our children. We made you. You're a responsibility. And I know you're saying that we didn't. Maybe we.
Wait,
That's
you made
the
those
swindle.
you made those genetic projects that you were speaking to, so you're both right, in a way.
Okay. So that makes sense. So yeah. And we were just like, we were wrong. And we're like, this is what it is. We made you. You're like our children. You're more grown up and aware of what's going on than we were giving you credit for. Like, we were treating you like stupid children. Clearly, you're more mature than we were giving you credit for. You wouldn't be able to be this formidable of enemies in battle and stuff like that, and have warriors that are willing to give their lives so honorably to defend you guys and stuff. Like, you clearly have something going here, and we disrespected you. We fucked up. So what I recall happening, and I'm trying to find other people who can, back me up on this. Other people that remember it, they probably are out there. There was something that was called the Great Betrayal. So to rewind, my bird people, the bird people, which the Council of Ra wasn't even just bird people. It was a bunch of different kinds of people. I'm from who were called the Choctauri. The Choctauri got their own planet and stuff like that, and they're just one of different ET. I was just representing my people, the Choctauri. I was just on the council, one of the bird people. There's different bird people, and Lyrans and all sorts of stuff. But anyway,
Avians, I think they're referred to.
yeah, avians. And my people, the Choctauri, and a certain kind of Draco, which I really wish I could remember the name of. But basically, our planets were fairly close to each other, and we met each other as we were both becoming spacefaring peoples, and we really liked each other a lot. They had dragons, the Siakar, who they worshipped, and who were the rulers of their society, who lived for thousands of years, and they respected, and nobody questioned their decisions, and then for a good reason, because they always made really good decisions because they're so wise. And yeah, it was the same thing with us in our society in Phoenix. We had Phoenix that we worship. Same thing. It was like very similar. And from what I recall, that is why, like on King Tut, you see the snake and the bird, and a lot of that snake and bird symbology has to do with this draconian species and the Choctauri, and the fact that they worshipped us jointly. We were both working together. Our empire was like that. And they started working with the Anunnaki, the humanoid aliens, around when all this Earth stuff was going on, and we didn't like that right off the get-go. We approached the Choctauri, approached our allies. I wish I could remember the name. They're a group of Dracos, so keep that in your mind moving forward. Mm-hmm. It's not the entire group, but I'll just call them the Draco moving up forward. They started working with the Anunnaki. We were like, we don't really like these people. They seem sketchy. Like I said, that's not the word we would use, but it was telepathic conversation actually. But we're like, these people seem like kind of like they don't have honor. And they were like, you don't understand, because for them, might equals right. And they're like, you don't understand. Like, they're so powerful. They have access to all these stargates. They like us. They want to work with us. We get all this power from working. If they're like, with them, it's a no-brainer. And we're like, we're grudgingly like, all right, you're cool. It's like the friend that shows up, where you and your buddies hang out, and there's, hey, the new guy. And you're like, oh, that new guy. I don't really like that new guy that much. That's kind of what it was like. And, yeah, we begrudgingly put up with a relationship with them. But I basically met with, like I said, that king and said, you guys can be free. We're going to work with you guys. And he's like, you're going to work with us? What do you mean by that? And we're like, well, we'll fight alongside you, which was crazy. That was insane. Nobody would have ever in their wildest dreams thought that what was about to happen and did happen was going to happen. Nobody would have ever been able to see it coming or ever have guessed it. And yeah, we were just like, yeah, we'll fight alongside you. And they're like, yeah, but what about your buddies, the reptiles, the Draco guys that you hang out with? They're not going to like that. And we're like, yeah, we know. They fucked up. We're like, we're done with them. We told them that these Anunnaki beings, these Sumerian beings, I don't know what you want to call them, the Zahami as people call them. I was like, they've gotten they're closer with those guys than us now. They already betrayed us. We don't like them anymore. We're going to work with you. And a big part of the reason why this all went down the way it did too was the other ET could not understand, nonetheless respect us saying, no, they're their own thing. They're like, wait, but humans are just owned by different ET. And we were like, yeah, no, they own themselves. None of the other ET understood that or could respect that. They didn't understand that decision making. The timeline events is kind of confusing, but I remember trying to explain that to them and them not understanding. Them being like, wait a minute, what? They own themselves? They literally couldn't understand the concept when I tried to explain it to like the Grand Council or whatever. They're like, what? The dog, it's gonna walk itself, to like hold its own leash and walk itself. You know what I mean? They're like, what? Like they didn't understand it. And from what I recall, we had what was called the Great Betrayal, which I don't know if I was there for that or not, because I think I got murdered, to be honest with you. I think the Great Betrayal happened right around when I did get murdered. Because I remember going to the Grand Council, for lack of better terms, it probably has like a more official ET name that's not even in English or whatever. But I went to the Grand Council because I couldn't find Yahweh. So what happened was, this is an important story to tell about my Ra past. I went to check in on a group of the humans, and they were like building something. And I was like, what are you guys building? They're like, oh, we're building a giant thing. They were building this thing for Yahweh. I'm like, who's Yahweh? They're like, yeah, God, Yahweh. I'm like, that's not God. We're trying to we're trying to explain this to you. We are just beings that have been around longer, and the stuff we do looks like magic and makes us look like God, but we're not God. And they're just like, no, you said you told us how you're not God. So this other guy came along and explained to us how he's God. You don't get it. I'm like, no, you don't get it. And I was like, okay, who speaks this blasphemy among you? Who is the leader of this whole we worship Yahweh now thing? You know? Again, I did not talk like this, but I'm using anyway. And guy steps forward. He's like, it is I. Yahweh is the true God. And I had like a group of people, humans that would follow me around. I was tall. I had like a group of like human people follow me around. I was taller than them. I remember that. And I remember, I'm like, so it's you who speaks the blasphemy and says that this Yahweh is God? And they're like, yeah. I'm like, well, are you willing to die for that belief? He's like, yeah, because I'll go to heaven and have eternal life with Yahweh. It'll be great. Fucking please kill me. Basically, right? And I was just like, all right, well, you're going to die then in front of all these people. And I was just like, all right, Yahweh, if you're really God, protect this person. Stop me from killing him. You control everything. You're God, Yahweh. So come on. All right, I don't see him coming. Stabbed him. I was like, all right, Yahweh didn't come. Yahweh didn't save him. Yahweh's not God. Can you please go back to being your own people? And didn't work. That just made them even more, I don't know, it just galvanized them, I think. And I was pissed. And so I was trying to find Yahweh, but I couldn't find him. He was like not on the planet or something. I couldn't find him. So I went to Poseidon, who is also one of the angels, Uriel. They're the same person. So I went to Poseidon, and I was like, hey, I've got these humans. We've got these humans. They're like, technically I own them. And we let them go, and we're letting them do their own thing and have their own empire and be their own empire without our leadership. And he's just like I said to you earlier, they're like, what? Okay, cool. well, we let Yahweh have them. I was like, that's not what I said. We want them to just be free and learn and be their own people. We want that for them. We're giving them that. We granted them that. We don't want to be owned by another ET. That's not why we let them go. We want them to be their own people. That's why we let them go. And Poseidon is irritated at this point and looks at me and says, do you question the decision making of the Grand Council like I'm some sort of idiot? And I'm like, no, I don't question your decision. I know the decision you made. Your decision was to give these humans to Yahweh. I'm not questioning the decision you made. I'm questioning the honor of the Grand Council and their decision-making process. And he just looked at me, turned red, and threw his trident at me and killed me. And I believe that was right around when the war was breaking out. I don't really know how the chain of events happened, but basically, my people, the Choctauri, with a bunch of humans who were cloaked, I think, because they didn't know the humans were there. I know there are a lot of humans with us, and they did not know that. There's a space station, and we're like, hey, we need to get in. This was a pretty normal occurrence. So there's just some guy sitting there drinking his coffee or whatever, half awake, that just woke up. Like, oh, okay. He did it a million times, whoever would have opened the gate, right? It was probably an alien. They weren't literally drinking coffee. But you know what I mean? Some guy, their job to open that gate, they did it a million times. It was nothing new. I enter the cove. They see where I'm. Okay, it's that ship. But this time, a whole armada of ships uncloaked and just blasted these motherfuckers. And it was a space station that was owned by the Draco species that we had been brother-sister race with for thousands of years. And it was known as the Great Betrayal. But to us, that wasn't the Great Betrayal. The Great Betrayal was when they aligned themselves with the traitorous Zahami. They already betrayed us. So to us, that was not in our historical records. That is not the Great Betrayal. The Great Betrayal was when they aligned themselves with the Zahami, when we warned them. We warned them and told them we didn't think it was a good idea. That, to me, still to this day, was the true betrayal. Because honor and might equals right do not equate. They like to pretend that it does. That, oh, whoever's the strongest and has the most powerful guns, they have the most honor. But that's bullshit. That's not true. And there was a time where that race of reptilians knew that and recognized that, as our people, the Choctauri, did, that there are some things more important than power. Honor being one of them. They totally threw that out the window for power. And power does not equal honor to our people, and it never will. So that, to us, was the Great Betrayal. Is when they threw honor out the window in exchange for power, which is something that we were always unwilling to do.
That's very interesting. Do you know whether that allied race was specifically Draconian or just reptilian? Because I heard that the Draconians apparently own this whole planet and they are leasing it to the Anunnaki, which is why we're looking at the apocalyptic event, which is just the Anunnaki races again trying to take the humanity down, because they reached the end of the ability to loosh us, because we are slowly
Evolving.
Exactly, inevitably. So do you know whether were that species just reptilian, or was it? Do you know it was Draco?
It was reptilian, and I want to say they had turtle shells. And you think, like, you got to keep in mind, this is thousands of years ago. All their lifetimes is remembering a past life and stuff, and I don't remember it. I should just be honest. I don't remember. I have to be honest when I don't know something.
Mm-hmm.
What I remember, though, is Marduk was close to me. We were friends for a really long time. And after the Great Betrayal, he was pissed at me. And he made an example out of me. Like, he made me basically a slave. And when he did that, he was an alligator guy, alligator person. So maybe they were the alligator people. But I don't know. It's, like I said, I don't remember. I wish I could remember.
Marduk is definitely part of the Anunnaki clan. There's no doubt about that. But yeah, that satisfies completely. And it's not just your figment of your imagination with the whole Ra thing. It's totally in line with the Project Ibis being.
Well, to be honest with you, a figment of my imagination would be inaccurate. It'd be other people's imagination. I got told by other people that I was Ra. I did not come to that conclusion on my own. It was other Montauk people and stuff like that being like, bro, you're Ra. The first time I was told I was Ra was by Amir Jahangiri in a session that I did with him. He's like, you're literally Ra. And you can see it, the look of surprise in my face. I'm like, what? What are you talking about? It was other people that told me this. And so that is just like the power of collaborative testimony. And honestly, it lines up with what I remember, but I also want to be clear that, you know, I'm on a learning journey with everybody else in this. A lot of the answered questions lead to more questions. Arcturus Ra is out there. He's another son of Emmerman. I've been trying to talk to him about it for years. He just doesn't feel like it's important to talk to me. I don't want to talk shit about my own brother. It does piss me off how hard it is to talk to him. I just want to talk to him. He's also, I think, like connected to the Ra aspect of things. So I think it might be true where like Arkheim Ra literally would be more accurate because like Ra is a title that is given to different people, maybe. I don't know, but also, like I said, I'm still understanding this. The way Amir explained it to me is I literally, at one point, because sons are alive and stuff, at one point, apparently, I was a son, which sounds crazy, but that's the way he explained it to me. So again, there's some stuff I'm still figuring out on my own, some stuff I don't remember. So that's why I love doing these interviews, is because other people who remember things might see it and might be like, I remember this. I'm able to fill in this blank for you. Da 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 da. I really am a champion of, like, I believe in collaborative testimony, and yeah, all the stuff that I'm talking about is based in reality. It's real. So I think there's going to be more and more people confirming it, and the more and more people that come out that are public that have been in these programs, the clearer of a picture we get. Sometimes there's little tiny differences in people's testimony that we really get like our panties up in a bunch over. The semantics don't matter. The most important thing is like the ET presence, the fact that our history is convoluted, like these time travel projects are real, all that stuff. As long as we can agree on like 75%, 90% of it, does the 10% we disagree on really matter? No, it doesn't, right? Like,
Yeah, just
anyway.
the consensus and discard the rest. Okay, so going back to the head of the Project Ibis, which is Carl Emmerman, do you believe that the version that was decorated on Earth, a U-boat captain and got the Iron Cross and lived up until 1990 on Earth, is a clone, or it is even himself, or is just a an alter, or how
It
do
was
you?
him. It was him. I remember going to him on his deathbed in 1990 and interrogating him because I was trying to get back to the reality that I come from. Jacob was. And I went to him and he knew everything. I basically said to him, you need to tell me how to get back to the reality that you fucking took me from. Because he took me into these time travel projects, and then the reality that I come from, I was in love with my wife and my family, and it was the most important thing to me, and I never forgot them. I still remember them. I'm still haunted by it. It still fucks me up. And yeah, I just remember wanting to get back to my wife and my family more than anything. Because she couldn't remember me, and then they put her in the projects, and the version of her here, they made me torture her and do all this stuff to her to where she just doesn't want anything to do with me. They programmed her to be like afraid of me, basically. So I'm haunted by this still. And I remember going to him very fucking angry, being like, I need to go back to the reality I come from. You're going to explain to me how I get there. Like, you're weak, you're frail, you can't fight back against me. You're going to fucking tell me how to get home. And he just explained to me there is no way home, dude. He's like, there are more timelines than you could ever imagine. Like, when they tell you that, like, people tell you, like, oh, there's only a few, bullshit. He told me, he's like, finding your timeline that you come from is like going to a beach and searching for a grain of sand, except even harder. That's how, like, it's out there somewhere. He's like, yeah, it exists. But the chances of you finding it and actually ending up back there again are next to none. And I was pissed. I was like, well, what about all the things we changed? Can't I just change this reality back to that reality? He's like, you don't understand how this stuff works. No, you can't do that. He's like, you're an idiot. What do you fucking, no, you can't do that. Like, that's stupid to even think you could do. You know how many changes we've made? He's like, just be realistic. He's like, my advice to you is to find one of the timelines where she still loves you, kill the version of you that's there, and replace him. It's like, if you want to be happy, that's the only way to do it. Kill the version of you that's with her and pretend to be him. That's the only way you're ever gonna get to be with her again. What a fucking asshole to tell me that, right? What a piece of shit. He's the one who took her away from me, from that life, from that reality. He's the one that put me into these time travel projects and shit. I was pissed, man. Like, really? The only way to be with this woman again is to kill a version of me, Rick and Morty style? What the fuck? You know what I mean? Like, and so, I don't remember. I think I might have even strangled him. I might be the reason that way that he died, and then they just say he died of natural causes. I think I might have killed him, to be honest with you. I remember being pissed. But yeah, I remember basically like that being really sobering and like really being shitty to hear. Because I figured if anybody knew how to get back to that reality, there's so many secrets in these programs, But the one guy who would know would be him. And I figured he probably had like, there's a gate on this. I literally thought he was going to tell me to like, the portal's here, go there and walk through. Nope. Like, I literally thought he'd have answers for me. I thought that. I'd probably, like, no. I was very, very upset with the answer that he gave me and the fact that I could tell psychically he was telling me the truth. He wasn't lying to me. It was a really, really hard moment in my existence. Maybe the hardest moment in my existence was realizing that I probably will never get to go back to the fucking reality I come from. I'll probably never see it again. That was really a hard pill to swallow.
Mm-hmm. You once said that the old man is a much more central figure in German history than Adolf Hitler. And do you think that also that he's like a fractal or incarnation of Enki, which would be in line with the Anunnaki agenda?
Yeah, I
Mm-hmm.
kind of do think that. Yeah, I think he is. I've heard that from other people who I trust. I don't remember it or anything. I just think that sounds about right.
Mm-hmm. And the Nazis wanted to co-opt or to hijack different ascended beings, including Christ.
Yeah. Yeah, that's one of the things that I've been like remembering. And like I said, still learning, confusing. Was I one of the Roman soldiers that whipped Christ? You're saying maybe that never happened and it's all a
No,
mirage?
it might not have been the original Christ. That's all.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I remember there was a time where Montauk was obsessed with that time period and they wanted to like I've heard a story from somebody, I can't remember who it was, saying another Montauk person saying they wanted to take Jesus and make him a Montauk time soldier and then make him be the Antichrist, like Jesus. That's what they wanted to do, which would have been that's a hell of a plan. I mean, it makes sense if you think about it. But I don't think it worked. I think like I think like he actually seemed, from what I recall, the memories are pretty blurry, but from what I recall, I think he actually was like weirdly divinely protected. And what that really is the timeline is alive. It's alive. All timelines are alive. They're born, they're alive, they die eventually. And yeah, this timeline did not want Christ to not exist. We tried to make a timeline where he didn't get born. Wasn't happening. We tried to do certain things to just change those events. We did about what we could. Because I think we did successfully do some changes, but Jesus was going to come and fuck shit up and wake people up and then leave. And they was just one of those things where the timeline was like, this is going to happen. Fuck you. That's the best way to explain it. Like, timelines are weird. Like, time travel's weird. Like, you could send a guy back in time to do something that I would do, right? But like a normal guy, send him back in time to change something, and then he'd come back and it wouldn't change. Swear to God. And then you send me to go do the same exact thing, and I do exactly the same shit as that other guy, and the timeline changes.
Butterfly
Why is
effect.
it? Yeah, but in the reason why though is because imagine marbles on a blanket. Imagine I've got a blanket stretched out, and you got marbles. The marbles with the most weight, the most density, make the blanket droop more. Well, that's how certain individuals are to the timeline, the time stream. Their presence affects the things around them and they have a bigger droop. So that's why so many famous people are like, why the fuck would they, why is Marilyn Monroe and all these famous people time soldiers? That's why. Because all these famous people affect the timeline. They change the world. You have to, people like that have to be, those are the people you have to use. Because it's almost like the universe respects the timeline, respects the decision more or something. It is ineffable. I cannot explain it. I do not have the math on a piece of paper to explain it to you, other than the rudimentary marble blanket kind of thing I just gave to you. But the timeline literally just doesn't respond to certain people, but it does respond to other people. And those are the people that they kidnapped. In fact, Montauk would literally go to alternate realities to find people that also had a weight on that reality and take them to this reality to use them for the projects. That's how valuable people that have that characteristic were to Montauk. If you didn't have that characteristic, you're useless. You might as well, like literally, you're useless to them. So those are the only people that they used. It was crucial because, like I said, you just use Joe Schmo to go back in time and try to change stuff. It might not even do anything. It depended on the person doing it. It was literally dependent on that.
Mm-hmm. Maybe continuing with more recent events. So let's go to the early period that you were referencing when they were just doing seances to find, hidden vaults and technologies. I believe you were sent in one of these missions in Southeast Asia back in the late 1800s as part of an English-U.S. joint effort.
Yeah, that was Jacob, I believe. And there's actually an altar of John Lennon's that was sent on that mission as well, who was part of the English part of the mission. And basically, we're building out a deep underground base, and don't ask, don't tell. I just figured it was just going to be a military base, but I found out later by being born there and put into a life there. It was for snuff films. It was a snuff film thing, and initially they were kidnapping children from all over Southeast Asia, and eventually they got more elaborate, like all these projects do. Better technology, start cloning people so they can kill them over and over again, and use their consciousness over and over again. And yeah, I was born there as Martin. I think maybe Howard. Then I don't. Maybe it wasn't even given a last name. Who knows? I do know I was Martin for sure. And yeah, it was pretty bad. I mean, I was raped every day from birth. Don't really remember when it started. Just probably assuming when I was a baby.
But still in the 1800s and there.
Times period is roughly late 1800s, early 1900s.
So snuff film back then.
Yeah, yeah, they had films. They had films. They were filming stuff, and I feel like they even had some sort of weird thing where they could put stuff on the internet, even though they were in the past. Like I don't know what was going on, but they were doing filming stuff, and it was maybe that came later or something, but they were filming it from what I remember. And the memory that I have, I'll go into the ones that are the clearest. One was of being, this one's really hard to talk about, but I was about 6 years old and I was raping a little Asian girl. I was being made to rape her, but this, like, I think Australian or UK, he's very obviously a royal. In fact, I got off an airplane transferring a flight and I got off the airplane to Chicago and he was sitting there waiting for me in the here and now, like literally like less than a month ago. And he was casing me to see if I recognized him, and I did. And when he saw that I recognized him, he looked fucking terrified. He looked scared. He looked like he was gonna shit his pants. The same guy that I'm talking about right now. I ran into him in an airport. Anyway, I'm being made to do stuff with this little girl, which is pretty new to me. This is like one of the first times that they did it. Not the first, but it was one of the first times. And the guy told me to smash her head in with a brick. And my eyes got all wide. And Alondra Markman was there, who is a public person. He does interviews. He will verify that this happened. He said to me telepathically, you need to do what this guy says. You need to smash your head in with that brick, and you need to do it enthusiastically. He's like, act like you're enjoying it. It will keep you safe. So I did, and he was right. I went from sleeping in a cold, dark room with no running water or toilet or anything. I just did shit and pee on the floor to having my own warm room with a bed. There's a TV in there, nudie mags and stuff. And of course, they would bring me a catalog every once in a while of all the different girls that they had there, and just told me that if I had ideas or things I wanted to do, to talk to them, and that I had free access to all the girls in the base. And so basically, what I learned in that moment is raping girls kept me safe. Literally, that's what that taught me. So that as long as I rape girls, as long as I rape people, I'll be treated good. I'll be treated like a fucking king. So that's what I did to survive. And in this sick world, I actually thought that me adopting these children to make them like my more permanent sex slaves was like helping them. It was like a Woody Allen thing where they were like my daughters, but I also was incestuous towards them. It's disgusting. I know. Like, I believe me, I get it's gross. Like looking back at it is disgusting. I have to really kind of put a wall up in my mind to even talk about this and not kind of like start crying. Like there's very much so an emotional wall being put up to even talk to you about this. Um, I have actually broke down and cried talking about this in other interviews, but I try not to do that. I try to avoid that if I can. And so, yeah, there were 3 of them, and the oldest one, she was getting older, and it was getting to the point where, in true Woody Allen fashion, I was able to kind of like be like, "This is my girlfriend," instead of like, "This is my daughter." When I would go out in public, and she got me. She's smart. She got me. She hated me, but she made it seem like she loved me. She got me to trust her, and we had an anniversary, and we were on my ship. So I really worked my way up because a lot of people that were on that base didn't even know spaceships existed, probably. But I had one and was using it to, I think, get kids and probably do really shady, disgusting fucking things, frankly. But I had my own ship, and I was letting her make me dinner, and knives, everything were involved because I trusted her that much. I thought I was in love, man. I thought I was in love, and this was my wife, and we had our 2 little girls that we were also incestuous with, and that was normal, and she thought it was normal. Just thought that was our world. It was normal in that world. That is literally fucking normal in that world.
So you adopted her, so not your real daughter, but you had 2 real
I had
daughters.
3. No, 3,
Okay,
all adopted,
adopted.
all
Okay.
Asian. They're all Chinese
Mm-hmm.
or Japanese. And the oldest one was probably like 15, 16 when this happened. Maybe even 14, maybe younger. But like old enough where I felt comfortable when I would go to like events on the surface. Because rewind. So there are 2 big moments in my life in that underground world. Moment 1 was smashing the little girl's head in. And disgusting, but that made me free in a way. The second moment was when I reached puberty, the guys took me to the surface. I remember Hanoi being a city that we would take kids from. Because unfortunately, I remember one of the little girls, I called her my fuck toy from Hanoi. That's how I remember that.
Mm.
Yeah, I'm not throwing up in my mouth a little bit, just repeating that. Uh, but anyway, that's how I know that we're taking children from Hanoi and that we were in that area. But I can't remember it now. But anyway, so we were doing something. I had my ship. She was making me dinner on the ship. And next thing you know, I go in the kitchen to talk to her. Next thing you know, she's on top of me, stabbing me. And she's saying to me in Mandarin, "I never loved you, you fucking pig. No woman would ever love you. You're a monster, you fucking pig. You enjoy killing children, pig." She's like, "No woman would ever love you. And the most I've ever enjoyed spending time with you is right now, stabbing you to death." She she's like, "This is the most I've ever enjoyed spending time with you." She's yelling this shit at me. And yeah, I died there. And on my ship, or she knew about it or something, she got access to it. One thing that I figured out recently is she had to have had help. I realized that there was somebody in the base who was giving her information, telling her when to strike. There was some sort of informant I'm pretty sure, which is good. I'm really glad that all these things happen. I'm super proud of her for fucking stabbing
And
out there.
also, I recall you saying that it couldn't have been a solo operation because she all of a sudden had, displayed fighting skills.
Martial arts, yeah. So she grew up in a sex slave operation her whole life. So fast forward to that. I had a hummingbird suit, and a hummingbird suit basically slows down time. So you can go into bases and take stuff and not be detected by the cameras if you move
What
fast enough.
what does it look like? And I think one
It's just
time you
like a
said,
smart suit, like a black suit, like with like a zip on it. You put it on, and I think there's like a little panel somewhere on it where you control the speed, where how much time slows down and stuff like that. And I believe it connects to your brain. Probably does.
there is a series of first-person shooter games that you slow down time, and so those are soft disclosure. And I think you said that
Sure.
it looks similar to the Halo suit.
Yeah, yeah. It was, but it's sleek. It's much more. It's black. It's more like cloth, not armor. And yeah, it's just like a black suit. You put it on, and
Do you know who made it?
I believe that it was ET Tech
Hmm.
and being reverse engineered for alien or humans. But I don't know if I was really there for that. In fact, I can't even remember if I had it on the ship or if she just knew where it was and got to it because she had the ship, like flew to the place where it was or something. It's blurry. All I know is after she killed me, she was able to access the hummingbird suit because I was like this high up guy with, and she was in my ship. So either the suit was literally there, which it may have been. I don't remember ever using it, but I just know that she got this hummingbird suit and stuff. And so Jacob, post Montauk, he was still on Earth. He was in hiding. He wanted to get off Earth because the Germans were after him, and and the Americans were after him because he escaped Montauk and stuff. And just he was so, but he was kind of like a rogue agent for this brief period of time, where eventually he sold himself to Nachtwaffen and left the planet and he worked for Nachtwaffen because he needed to like eat and be protected and stuff. But
But can we also splice in before we go on? Where does Jacob end and you begin? Do you think that you're actually the same exact facet of or personality?
yeah, I think I'm the version of Jacob if he just lived a normal life,
Hmm.
and Jacob is the version of me that grew up at Montauk. That was his home.
So you're not distinct.
We're different but the same. It's really hard for me to tell when I alter out into Jacob because it's like being me. Like like for instance, when I read about how I had these anchor issues like in John's book and Christie's book, I'm way better about it now, but that yeah. And it comes from that. And also there's a part in Christie's book where I drop the straw and I freak out. I still have that. If I don't know where something is, it drives me fucking nuts. But in the here and now, instead of like freaking out and breaking things, I have to just be like, oh, okay, calm down and figure out where the fuck it is. Like
Hmm.
in that world, freaking out and breaking stuff all the time kept me safe. In this world, if I were to do that, I wouldn't have any friends. So I don't do that. I try my best to not be a maniac that has mental breakdowns all the time. But at Montauk, that kept me safe. So
Hmm. But yeah, you can go back to the hummingbird suit.
okay, okay,
Go
yeah.
ahead.
So she got this suit, and like I said, I think she had help because she demonstrated she knew like martial arts and stuff with the way that she used the suit and took out so many people. And Jacob found out about her, so it's like, how would you know? It's because you're dead, aren't you? Jacob, my other author, found out about her because it was like a legend that this woman was going around and just fucking up these bases where they're doing like snuff film, pedophile, sex trafficking kind of things. She was going there and just killing all these guys and leaving a calling card too. The top dude, she'd leave their head at the door of the base so that the next person to come back from a mission or whatever would find their leader's head just sitting there. So they'd know that they're like before they even, and if it was a portal, I guess it'd be at the head of the where the portal was or whatever. But she'd literally leave there. She had like a calling card and everything.
So the humming
And
suit was that much ahead of their technology.
it was advanced shit. Not that many people knew about it. And
Hmm.
I think it may have even been the people she was working with who maybe got it to her. And they might have even been from the future.
Hmm.
I don't know. In fact, I'm writing a book right now, and I think that the book might just be memories. And it's basically about an Arasaka robot who replaces a member of a royal family. And the reason why they replaced a member of the royal family is because that member of the royal family is doing like a trafficking operation. They're trying to bust it.
Mm.
And there's time travel involved in going back in time. And it's kind of like the Philip K. Dick thing where I think I might just be writing a book about something that actually happened, like as a way to get it out. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So yeah, I think that literally like there might have been people from the future helping her, and that the hummingbird suit, like I said, because I don't remember having it on my suit ship really. I don't remember ever using it. All I know is she got the thing. I know that for sure, because it became like a legend. Like this woman is going around and just slaughtering like pedophiles and stuff, and a lot of people thought it was awesome. It was being cheered on. But the top brass were trying to be like, this isn't happening. It's not real. It's all not all just stories. Meanwhile, it's like, okay, then how come the 27 dude on that base that we all know about just don't exist anymore? What happened to them? You know what I mean? Like there was evidence that the story was true. As much as they tried to cover it up and say it wasn't happening, it was happening. And I remember Jacob found her node, which is like a communications node, and basically dialed in and said, "Hey, I'm trying to get a hold of you. My name's Jacob Rothschild. I was a member of the Montauk Project. I want to help you." And she came back to me. It's a comical moment. If they made a movie about this, it would be a funny moment in the movie because she saw my face and it's the same face as Martin. So she just starts freaking out. Like, you're still alive, you fucking pig. You disgusting piece of shit. I'm going to find you and I'm going to kill you again. She's yelling at me. I'm like, clones. They clone people. You don't know about that yet? They can clone people. And she's like, oh, like, I got her to listen to me. She's like, actually, I have seen stuff. I was wondering what is going on with the clones. I'm like, yeah, they can take your consciousness. I explained the alters to her. I explained what they did to me, and I explained how I'm a totally different version of that guy. I was like, that I don't know that guy, but he sounds like a real asshole. You
But
know
she
what I
wasn't
mean?
a clone. She wasn't a clone, right?
She
Because.
wasn't a
Mhm,
clone.
mhm.
No, that was actually her.
Yeah.
But the other version of me was a clone, like a different version of me. I was trying to explain that to her. Like that wasn't me. It's a different version. I am not Martin, the guy that was your fake husband that was gross to you and stuff. Like tried to explain to her I'm a totally different dude. And I'm like, explain to her like I was put in similar trafficking situations, made to her kids. I'm mad at these people in the same way you are. I'm pissed off at them. I was like, I want to help you. And she's like, didn't believe me. But I was like, all right, I'm gonna send you over a file. I'm like, I don't have the resources to take out this base. But I was like, I know you do. I was like, I'm gonna send you all the information, and I know you're gonna take advantage of it and you're gonna do it. I'm like, if you don't do it, I'm fucked for just giving you this information, and it's gonna come back to me. I'm like, I'm risking my ass by sending this to you, but I trust you, so I'm gonna send it to you. And sure enough, within a couple of days, I find out that base got taken out by her, and she's on the fucking thing. All right, I trust you now. What's going on? What do you want to do? And I just said, yeah, I have all this information. And I said I knew about this base or the ship that would traffic kids. It was knocked off, and I said it's all under the table, under the radar, but so many people on the ship know about it. I said if we did attack them and the top brass did find out about it, they would only get in trouble, like the people doing it. I was just like,
Mhm.
explain, it's the perfect situation. As long as we're able to get out of there, this is big because it'll expose it to people and stuff. And I don't think that went as well as we wanted. Like Nachtwaffen being Nachtwaffen for political purposes buried it as much as possible because they don't want bad publicity. So it didn't really go the way we planned, where like a bunch of people would find out about it. And but we did go in there. We saved all these kids. We
What
opened up
what were
this.
they doing? What would Nahmavan doing with the children?
They were trafficking them for some sort of sexual slavery thing.
Hmm.
It was like I don't really remember. All I know is it had to do with like pedophilia.
Pedophilia. Hmm.
Yeah, and we were not about it. This was the main thing that we were after. We didn't like anything these were doing. People were doing, but we had a real fucking hate boner for these people who were pedos and doing because they did it to us, and we grew up in that world, you know. So especially me being forced to hurt people and stuff. So we went on the ship. We rescued these kids. We took out all these people, and we made all the officers. We humiliated them. We made sure like the whole ship knew that they like fuck kids and stuff. By the way, we handcuffed them somewhere and left like pictures by them so people when they came and found them would see. And we humiliated all the officers that were a part of this. And then I remember like we had to get the fuck out of there because they were gonna come find us and stuff, and I knew it was gonna be the last time I'd ever see her. And I said to her, I know that when you look at my face, all you see is the pig, and it's got to be really hard for you. I'm like, you're a really strong person for being able to do this with me. And I was like, because of the face, you can seeing that guy. And I said, I know that you might not want to do this, and it's cool if you don't. I understand. But I was like, you're like a sister to me. We just saved little kids' lives together. We killed these fucking assholes. Like, I'm really proud of what we accomplished. I was like, can I just get a hug from you? This is the last time I'm ever gonna see you. And she looked at me kind of mad, like, think I'm gonna give you a fucking hug? And then she kind of not smirked, but looked less angry, like more normal, and held out her hand. And I shook her hand real firm. And then she just like was like turning away to run away and kind of like went like this while she did it. And she just took off. And that was the last time I ever saw her. And yeah, that's the legend of like the hummingbird. They call her the hummingbird. It's a legend out in the breakaways. I can only imagine there's been movies, comics, and things made about it. I haven't found them yet. But what I did find though is apparently I knocked that girl up. Martin did, and we had a kid. And I found him in the here and now. And Jacob told me. Jacob was the one who told me. He came through and he was like, "You have a son named Yoshiki Fukuyama, I think it is."
Yes.
And yeah, and when I first saw him, it was like, this guy doesn't really like, he looks very Asian. Could he really be me? That's kind of crazy. Like, I wasn't really able to take it in. But then I was Googling him and I found out his first band was called Hummingbird. I was like, oh hell no, that's him for sure. That is my son. Like, yeah. Yeah, he named his band off of his mom. And then I also found it interesting. You can't find any information on his mom. Like you look up
Mm.
his, Yoshiki Fukuyama mom, you can't find anything. To the point where it's almost weird. I even asked AI, like, is there anything on the internet about this guy's mom? Nothing.
And if there
This-
is, it's probably false.
yeah, yeah. So just really interesting. But
But he seems like an even keeled person.
yeah, I don't think he's evil. And then like for instance, like because I found a rabbit hole and we can go into it if you want.
Hmm.
Not looking forward to it. It's not fun to talk about, but we can do it. It's important. But yeah, like with his band being called Hummingbird and stuff, I don't think he's part of the dark Japanese pedophilic music industry like some of the people that I found. So this is fast forward to the here and now. So I talked about the underground base, the trafficking. Well, in the modern age, they got nodes, they got clones. People are able to buy nodes. All right. You're able to purchase them. It's very esoteric, not well known. But like most esoteric stuff, the satanic world of dark magicians and advanced technology, it's merged. It's the same thing. Dark magic, dark technology, same fucking difference. And yeah, these nodes, you can get like this thing. It's like a white thing. It's like kind of like an egg, but flat on the top and the bottom, like half an egg, but it's flat on the bottom and half flat on the top, and has little like earbuds looking things in them. And if you get this, you have to get a surgery done where you get little pieces of metal implanted in your temples that hook up to your brain. And you put these little pieces, they're magnetic, and they go right there. And
Like
the trans
electrodes.
I think they're conduits, consciousness conduits, and
Hmm.
they're little just magnets, metal magnets, and it transmits your consciousness to. It can actually transmit your consciousness to virtual realities, fake worlds. You can have virtual reality simulations and stuff, which is some of the more like mundane, and it's not really evil to do that. There's nothing wrong with that, but it can be used for really evil stuff, like for the super soldier programs. You don't need to have these things that you put on the nodes. That's just for
Hmm.
people who buy it and are accessing that world. They can take your phone, your consciousness through like cellular signals, through Wi-Fi towers, stuff like that. They have the technology to do that. You don't need to put the stuff technology right on your temples. But the version of it that they literally sell to the wealthy public for public consumption, yeah, it's like a little. They don't want you to know that they can just take your consciousness whenever you want. So they give you this little thing you put next to your bed and these little things, and
But
you can.
but while you're under, let's say, you still need the body, the anchor, the host body, right? And what's the state it's in when it's
Sleep.
Mm-hmm.
You go to sleep.
Okay.
You go to sleep, and it's actually advertised that you can use it when you sleep. That your normal body can still experience basically like sleep, and you can
So it's
rest.
REM transfer.
Yeah, it's REM transfer. And there's a commercial. I'm gonna share the guy who made this technology. If you want to let
He's
me
the
do that.
inventor.
Yeah, the inventor. I think he's the inventor anywhere. At least he's a tradesman of the technology. Hold on one here. Okay, so this guy right here. This is Professor, well, Dr. Yasushi Yamaguchi, and not sure how good I'm doing with his name. I remember this guy wearing a like a lab coat and seeing him. His hair's more white. He's older, so this might not have happened yet, or this is just an old picture, one or the other. And this guy, he has to do with remote sensing data, which has to do with terrestrial mapping and stuff like that, which is a kind of a cover. They also use that GPS tracking technology and all that for cars, but also in like virtual reality worlds. So he's part of developing that. But the real, which is fine, make virtual reality worlds. Who cares? But the thing that's scary and messed up is he has this commercial, and I want to be clear, maybe it's an altar, like a dark altar that they made of him or something. I'd feel really bad if the version of him in the here and now was like totally clueless, and then I'm like, oh, this guy's evil, and he got a bunch of emails or something. Like he might have zero clue and been brainwashed. Who knows? So I want to be clear about that. But there's this commercial that I remember seeing where it's like a guy, this guy actually, and he's in an under goes into a room in an underground base, and there's two little girls in the room, and he does all this pedophilic stuff to them. We don't need to get into detail. And
Mm.
then it's like you hear like voices like calling to him, and then he comes out of it and he's lying in a bed with those things on his temple. And he takes the temple devices off, puts it back in the thing, and walks downstairs, and his family's with him. And he starts having dinner with his family, and they all start talking. And the end of the commercial is nobody ever has to know. Pretty fucking just like a really, that doesn't send, just like a real life horror movie, man. Chills down your spine. Like, so yeah, that's what I remember about this guy. I actually sent him an email that said nobody will ever know, huh?
And who did they target with this technology?
So this is where we're gonna get into some more dark territory here. Little girls, and boys. There's an Instagram world that I found. It's a company called Galili, and it is trafficking little girls openly on the internet. Here's some of the stuff that I found. So I found this, and basically the girl that they're advertising, Ryan or whatever, she is a girl that I was being forced to do stuff to against my will in these node facilities. And yeah, I just was able to find her from things that I remembered. And this is an advertisement from an Instagram called Gal Kawaii, which is openly telling on itself, trafficking kids. It says Speedy Jack waiting for love. And on the left of this, which I do not have pictured, is her wearing like the clothes of like a fucking stripper, and she's a 10-year-old girl. And it's like, again, in Gal's a renewable number, meaning renewable node code, I think is what that means. Likes, comments, tag may offer you in a job if you'd like to perform. And so what I found was there's this thing that they do in Japan every year. It's called the Orion Draft. And it's literally sponsored by Orion Beer Draft, which is real. And you can look it up. And these little girls get flown in, and it's junior idol culture, which is there's idol culture in Japan where it's like girls singing and these guys follow them around. It's all super creepy, but there's junior idols, which is even creepier, where it's like 10-year-old girls and stuff. Well, this is a junior idol competition where the girls sing on stage and they're dressed in way not age appropriate clothing, and they got a bunch of creepy men there watching them. Anyway, they're being trafficked. It's called the Orion. They call the Orion beer Orion's Craft the Draft because that way when you look, and it's from Okinawa to the world. Here, I'll show you a picture of the little girls.
And aren't they telling on themselves that it's maybe Orion, a part of the negative aliens from Orion, like the syndicate?
Well,
Maybe.
there's what they call the Orion Group, the Orion Syndicate. There's always
Mhm.
names for it, but it's basically traffic. And yeah, this beer that they make is sold off world. They make a lot of this beer, and it's not just sold on this planet. It's famous, and the beer is connected to. Anyway, here's like this is just like okay, if this isn't human trafficking, then what the fuck is? Like, you got two little girls, these 10-year-olds. In fact, I think the girl on the right is even younger than that. They're in a hotel room. They're wearing beer shirts from Okinawa, the draft. So they're wearing beer shirts, and yeah, they're at a hotel, and it's literally like this whole competition where they like dance and stuff and all that for these creepy old men. And the part that people don't know is the winners get their consciousness put on file, their DNA, so that they can be cloned and used in these facilities. And so I was waking up in one of these facilities and being forced to do really disgusting things to these girls because I am famous in these programs for being a brutal rapist fucking monster piece of shit because of how they programmed me at Montauk. I did really, really, really disgusting things at Montauk, and they filmed it all. So these people have already seen me do depraved shit, and we're just like, all right, let's get them to do more depraved shit.
They
It's a
film
curse.
everything so they can blackmail.
They actually, it's not for blackmail for me. They're not going to show it to anybody in my life. They're doing it for their own personal gratification. I just good at what I do to them. Like for instance, I guess I can go like I can finish and then just keep going like over and over again, and they make me do that. They literally, and they'll punish me for not doing it. Like I remember at the end of the last one that I did, the last one ever, because I'm not going to do them anymore. You'll understand why when you hear the end of the story. At the end of it, I had to smash literally that little girl on the left that was pictured. It was her. I had to smash her head in, and I heard because there's people watching from I'm guessing live stream. They weren't in the room, but I literally heard clapping and cheering at the end of it. And I spoke to this guy, and it was in Japanese, and I was like, "All right, how many more fucking times do I gotta do this?" And he's like, "Just 28 more times, and then you get to see your family." Out of 400. So this was the 300. I'm bad at math. The 372nd scene like this that I filmed. Are you fucking kidding me, dude? So finding this out really pissed me off. Obviously, I got the memories back. I woke up here and my dick hurt. Like, there's no other way to say it. And people will be like, "Whoa, about no consciousness." This particular time, they've, I guess, physically took me. I don't know why. That seems really unwise for one thing, because of the fact that the physical evidence made me remember it. But they did. They physically took me. I do not remember being taken, but I do remember like them opening a portal and being like, okay, you can go home now, and walking through it and lying in my bed and going to sleep. I remember that. I remember seeing Kat in my bed and looking through the light. She's sleeping there with no clue that a portal's opening up next to her, and thinking how crazy that is. Like, I remember that. And then be like, all right. And I went back home and I was altered, but when I lied back down and back to sleep, then I wake up as me. Right. And I was supposed to be, I never remembered that. And like I said, apparently I've done this a bunch of times and I didn't remember it. Well, this time my dick hurt, so I remembered it. And the memories were so brutal. Kat was in there working and could hear me like whimpering and crying and shit, getting these memories back. It was really, really bad. And then fast forward to the good news. A version of me, I don't know if it's Jacob or not, but this version can speak Japanese and has been trained by samurais and works with samurais and follows the Bushido code. And he found out about this going on because I'm an anomaly of an asset where I have memory bleed through. Which like I said in Chantal's video, you think these people would be like, all right, maybe this guy, we really like taking him. It's really entertaining for us, but it's too much of a security risk. You think they'd fucking stop taking me, right? I go on the internet and talk, you right? And I'm literally found evidence that's out in the open here this time.
They're
So to
too
me, these
proud.
people, thank you. These people are fucking stupid though. It's like a to me I look at it as like a porno addict that like jerks off at work and stuff like that. You know what I mean? They know they shouldn't be doing this shit. They know it's disgusting and wrong, but they're addicted. So it's like the dude jerking off at work. It's them taking me. It's like they're so addicted to being deviant fucking sick psychopaths that they can't help themselves, even though they know that security risk is there. And let me tell you, they paid dearly for it. They really did pay dearly for it. Because this particular author found out about this shit and he was not happy. Okay. The Bushido Code of Honor is pretty simple. It's not that complicated. It's G. I'm just gonna say the English words because this version of me is not good with Japanese.
Okay.
Justice, the ability to make correct and ethical decisions. Kidnapping children to rape them is not ethical. Courage, bravery in the face of danger. These people are cowards. It's the opposite. Benevolence, they have compassion and show kindness to others. Also the opposite of the samurai way, the way these people are acting. Respect and politeness, they're not doing that. Sincerity, honesty, they're not doing that. Honor, to uphold one's reputation and avoid shame. Well, my reputation and my honor is being fucked with by these people, right? Shuki, loyalty, to be devoted, faithful to one lord or causes, which as far as I can tell, I don't know who my lord is or whatever, but it's not these people, right? And so what I found out about this, and I went in there with a team of 5, me being one of the 5, so 4 other people, one of them being an author of Drago Reed, who is also public, and he doesn't remember it, but he's like, I have this author, and he explained him to me, explained the way he dresses, the way his sword is, all the stuff. I was like, yeah, that was definitely him. Yeah, that was who I was with. And basically, we went in there, started slaughtering the pedophiles. We just brutally slaughtered them. Like, we didn't care. We tried to not do it in front of the kids if we could. But yeah, we went in there and we started taking them all and killing them all. And rescuing the kids, we opened up a portal and we were taking the kids to a ship. And we were rescuing them.
But weren't the kids like cloned because that's how they do the catalog? They clone them in.
Yeah, it's their clone. So this is a clone version of them.
Mm-hmm.
So there's and the version of, like, for instance, like that Reinen girl, she's still existing in the here and now.
So
Her
they're
life.
permanent clones. So not just duplication, but replication.
Well,
So
they would have killed her over and over again and kept cloning her and waking her up there. In fact, they had already done it like 4 or 5 times.
But I mean, they're very sophisticated clones that can live out their whole life, not just live like half a year or a year and then melt out.
Yeah. That's In fact, I don't know of clones that can only live for a year or 2. That's abnormal to me. The latter is. Well, anyway, that's
Okay.
yeah. She's able to live out a whole life, and she did. I can tell you about it. It's actually really fucking crazy. Like I have memories of visiting her gravestone, which is so weird because she's a 10-year-old girl in the here and now. But anyway, I remember 2 big moments in that. The first big moment being finding that girl and me feeling so responsible for what I did to her and so guilty and asking
So
her.
even though this is another altar, it knew about the previous with
That's the
your
whole
lookalike.
reason why I was there. Yeah, because the bleed through. We have bleed through,
right,
and he
right.
became aware of it, and he's like, "This is going on? Hell no! Like, that's me. It might not be me, but it is me. You understand how altars work? We are all me.
Right.
You know what I mean? So to him, he's being forced to hurt children. Him. It might be a different version of them, but it's still him, and that's dishonorable and not right, and just abhorrent in every way possibly imaginable. So I remember when I found her, because she was in like a cage or whatever, dressed in like a geisha outfit, I'm pretty sure. And I was like, "Do you remember me?" And that was really didn't want her to remember me. I was so afraid of her remembering me because I wanted to save her, and not only that, be there for her and look out for her. And if she remembered me, that would make it really hard to do. And she didn't remember me. Yay, she didn't remember me. I was like, "Do you remember me?" And she's like, "No." I was like, "Good, that's okay. You don't need to remember me." I was like, "I'm going to take you somewhere safe. Can you trust me?" And she said she could trust me. And I took her and I picked her up and I brought her onto the ship. And I went back in there and, we grabbed a bunch of different kids. She wasn't the only one, but it was the most impactful one to me because it was one that I had been forced to abuse. And that was like the reason why I was there. I mean, it was for all of them, but especially her. And I got to the guy who was in charge of it all. So there's a main guy. I found a picture of him online. He's like old, and you'll see pictures of him with like supermodels and stuff all the time. He's a really fucking disgusting guy. I don't have a picture of him here,
Is he
but I did
Japanese
not.
again?
Yeah, he's a Japanese dude. He's probably like known as like the Hugh Hefner of Japan. Probably. I can only imagine. I should have had a picture of him for this, but I did not get to
All
the
right.
main guy. It was not the guy below him, but the guy below him. So like the third guy down for this whole pedophile ring thing that they're doing. But I got to the end of it and I said, "So you're the guy who likes seeing little girls basically get throat fucked until they suffocate and die." And he's just yelling all this stuff at me in Japanese, like, "Please forgive me. I'm sorry." He's like crying. I'm like, "You're not answering my question." I'm just like, "Okay, well, can you just open? I know a perfect way for you to die. Can you open your mouth? Open your mouth." Because that's what he does, this guy. And he instructed me to do it to girls too. Say, open, yell at them, open your mouth. And then you just kind of, yeah, whatever. I don't want to get into it. But so I hope the audience enjoys this as much as I did. I said, open your mouth. No, no, he's screaming. I'm like, open your fucking mouth, or I'm gonna kill you in a worse way. You're about to die. Nothing you can do is gonna stop that. Open your fucking mouth. And so the guy opened his mouth, and I took my sword and I shoved it down his throat and went like this, fucking pulled it out, and then I left. And look, man, I even though these guys are really terrible people, it was really horrifying getting that memory back, dude. That was scary to get back. Like, I am capable of extreme violence. Holy shit, dude. But you know what? It's okay because I understand that pacifism is not what would have saved those kids. They needed somebody to go in there and scare those motherfuckers and let them know what time it was. And that they can't just think they can just do this stuff like out in the open. They can't.
They're probably not even people anymore.
Yeah, you got a good point. They're probably like possessed and stuff.
Thanks for sharing that. And by the way, was this whole thing somehow? I mean, you waking up in the cloning centers and such. Did Aquino have a say in this early on? Meaning he kind of manipulated your timeline for you to end up in those places,
Uh
similar to what he did to Daryl.
yeah, good question. So I have an alter named Edward. He's the Australian alter that a lot of people have probably come in contact with. And in his reality, they're very proactive about these Satanists and not letting them take over their world and stuff. They're more proactive about it by like tenfold than here. And Aquino did make his way into the military and infiltrated it in their reality and tried to start the PSYOPs division or whatever. Like, very different but very similar path that he took. And he got discovered through an Operation Snuffed Fire, I think it was. And basically, we exposed that he was a pedophile and that he was into like poop and pee and stuff. And we humiliated him. I humiliated him. And the version of him in this reality, with all the power and stuff, took it upon himself to take Edward and put him in that life with the name Martin. So Martin is just Edward, mind wiped, and put into a new life and given a new name.
Hmm.
That's it. And it's proof that, like, to me, like, okay, Edward's pretty awesome. He became an alcoholic. So he had a really bad alcohol problem, but he was a nice person. He didn't hurt people. He was pretty kind. And yeah, he just would never, he couldn't imagine hurting a child, Edward.
Hmm.
And so it was kind of nice figuring that out, because when you find out if there's any version of you that can do this shit, you're like, what the fuck is wrong with me? I mean, seriously, I've had times where I've thought about just like unaliving myself. But I could just wake up in one of their like weird snuff film facilities or something. I have more power here speaking out against them than I ever could just taking myself out and doing them a favor, right? So I want to make this very clear that this is all against my will. I never want to do any of these things. I got programmed by Preston at Montauk from very young age and up to be like a sexually deviant monster. That was one of the reasons why he liked me so much.
You derive no pleasure from all the sexual activities.
No, I didn't. I mean, like, what's hard is technically I did. Because, I mean, I ejaculated, all those things. So I had to get into character to do it. You know what I mean? And that was the part that was like really hard for me to deal with, is how could any version of me feel pleasure from that? But it's literally like your brain goes into this monster mode alter in order to survive. And not only that, when we were children at Montauk, and a lot of times with the kids, to kind of prime you to be this animal to begin with, they use drugs. They use pheromone drugs and stuff like that to make you really sexually charged. And yeah, I was brainwashed from literal birth forward to be a sexual maniac. That's what was my job. And
Mm-hmm.
it's a really important part of my story. I have to tell it because I feel a great guilt about what I've been forced to do. And there's people who don't understand it in this community, who don't understand that this is all against my will. And I want to make that clear that you might have seen a version of me that was enjoying myself if you're one of my victims, unfortunately. But I derive no pleasure from it. And arguably, even that version didn't. It's just with survival. And it's the hardest part of this to talk about, but how do I ground this in reality? I think one of the biggest ways I can do it is by, it's everybody can go on the internet and be like, I saved a bunch of kids. That
Mm-hmm.
part of the story is pretty awesome. But the part about it before all that, that's the part that's hard to tell. And it's like, okay, why the fuck would I make that up? Why would anybody in their right mind make that up and go on the internet to tell stories about it? Like, if this was all just made up, I would come up with better stories than that don't incriminate me and make me look like a fucking monster. You know what I mean? There's a part of me that's afraid of all the people that won't understand that I didn't mean to do all that and like I'm gonna get attacked or something. I mean, I'm pretty sure people get it. But oh man. I want to show you Galili before we go. If I can find the Galili Instagram.
Instagram, by the way,
Yeah,
owned
I'm
by
finding it.
Meta, which Jess is about, or says Metatron is behind. But anyway.
Oh, I believe it. All right. So a click away from Ryan's page, who is a 10-year-old girl, is her mom, who she tags all the time. And you can tell that she's like, in that world. Like
Mm-hmm.
this is a woman who probably works in the sex industry, which I have nothing against that, whatever. That's the oldest job there is, but when you bring children into it, you need to get fucked. Like that, you know what I mean? Like she is promoting her daughter on the same fucking page she's promoting this shit. That's not cool, all right? So that's why I bring it up. If she was just doing this alone, I wouldn't be here shaming her. Do your thing, girl, whatever. But she's bringing her fucking little kid into it. It's not okay. So that's her mom. All right, so this is the Galili page,
Mm.
which is trafficking girls. I mean, that's what it is. It's like a model school thing where they're basically making a bunch of sex kittens. And
Mm.
yeah, all these girls are like what, 10, 9, 8? Like, what the fuck, dude? Look at the way they're dressed and stuff. This is silly. Come on, people. Why are we allowing this as a society? This is messed up. And yeah, it's just all out in the open. Technically, none of it's illegal or anything, but I would say it's pretty dang incriminating. Like, what the heck? And then once I go to this window, are you seeing it?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is the official website. It's called Loom Carry, and it's connected to Galili or whatever. This is, I think, the name of the corporation that is trafficking the kids with the nodes and stuff.
Mm.
It says our philosophy, our mission, delivering love and happiness to all people and fulfilling a future with hope. So delivering love and happiness means, sex trafficking. Our mission is to create a society in which everyone can shine brightly in the lives of everyone involved. Everyone can shine in their own way. Shine and smile and hope for Japan with Gal Minds. Gal Minds is a euphemism for sex game programming, from what I can tell. Be bold, free, and positive through the keyword Gal Mind. All right, keyword. MK Ultra keyword, like gal mind, like we will create a future full of love and challenge without being bound by preconceived notions. So one thing that this woman who runs this says is it's like feminist and like they're empowering women, but yet every single girl's height, waist, and weight is listed in their picture and description. How the fuck is that empowering anyone? And then I found this guy right here, from him commenting on like little girls' posts, like fire emojis and stuff. I've met this guy. I've actually met him. They call him the Frogman because he builds underwater infrastructure. So let's rewind a little bit. The gentleman that I showed you earlier, Professor Yamaguchi, he has high-end clients all over the world and beyond the world in the breakaways as well that pay top dollar to use his technology. But most of his clients, most of what I have worked with or know about was based here on Earth. And basically, his company's called Lunar Love, and he can like transmit people's consciousness to the moon to commit sex acts. And the advertising that he says is, since it's on the moon, no crime. There's no such thing as murder on the moon. There's no such thing as rape on the moon. There's no such thing. There's no laws on the moon. And it's the same thing. So what came in those, you had clients who'd come in, they'd watch that commercial and be like, cool. I like the idea of being able to do all this fucked up shit with zero repercussion and nobody knowing that I did it and having no way to ever be able to tell. But I don't want to wake up on the moon. That freaks me out. Like, there are lots of clients. That was their answer. I'd do it, but I don't want to wake up on the moon. So he started building terrestrial ones here on Earth in the ocean. And it's just like how Terramar with Ghislaine Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein, how she says there's no laws in the ocean. Same thing. So he has under the ocean, underground facilities, or maybe they're domes. I've never seen the outside of them when you're in there. It's just white rooms, white walls. There's no windows or anything. So who knows where it actually is? He could be lying to you. It could be underneath Japan and he's lying to you and saying it's not. But he claims that it's underneath the ocean. Actually, I would say I do know that that's true because the evidence is in this guy, knowing this guy. They call him the Frogman because he has a submarine. He takes kids places. He traffics things. And also, he'll repair and build underground communication infrastructure. Like, they have little nodes where they send information, and it's not like trucker radio. It's not like cell phone. I don't know what they're using, but it's like a different communication that civilians don't really use. And he sets up the communication networks, the internet wires that run from this facility. So, because people will actually pay to live stream, watch me doing this stuff and other people doing this stuff. So he set up the infrastructure so it's connected to the internet and people can actually live stream stuff happening from this place. That's why they call him Frogman. And the Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde thing right here is because he's a pretty nice guy in the here and now, a really friendly dude, but he's a monster to all the women that he comes in contact with.
But what
This
about
right
that
here
tagline? That tagline was very telling.
It says, if I die sometime, I'll cry, laugh, and enjoy a life. Talk to me anytime, please. And so this guy is a guitar player in this band called L Garden. This is a military patch that it means marauders. They're like pirates, I guess, but sanctioned by our military. They go to cities and take them over and raid them, and they're able to do whatever they want. And yeah, they're called the Marauders, and they literally just changed Marauders to El Garden. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's
and the quote above is also hinting that if you die, he'll just come back again, meaning he's a clone.
Yeah, exactly.
Wasn't there something about genetically engineered juvenile looking in these cloning centers by the Japanese that made it so it's not so illegal to, ravage?
Yeah, I got that. Sure, I can show it to you. So John has talked about these girls before, and what it is like they don't grow big. So like technically, you're really not doing anything wrong if they're an adult woman and they are attracted to you. Whatever. It's just by our standards because they look like kids. It's weird. But a lot of these guys will purposely, because they actually have a little bit of a moral compass, they'll want to spend time with the ET versions. And so, yeah, I'm pretty sure this is a filter or whatever. Maybe it's an actual picture. I'm not sure. But this is them, regardless, this is them showing you, like, hey, we have access to this ET, these girls. Like, these could be women in their 20s for that ET species. That's how they age very slow, and that's them at full size. So for people who want to, I don't know, experience that or whatever, because they're, so rich that they've pushed all the limits or whatever anymore, but they're not that sick, they can spend time with one of these ET and kind of having your cake and eating it too or whatever, where you don't have to feel guilty about fucking raping a kid.
So would that suggest that it's still ongoing? So despite all your, progress with Jacob and so on, the Hummingbird.
I took the third guy down. I even said the two higher up guys are still alive. All I did was maybe scare them. And I didn't go to the one on the moon. It was a terrestrial one. So, like, yeah, as far as I can tell, it didn't shut down their entire operation. It just caused maybe a little bit of a dent.
Hmm. But our consciousness being plugged like that, it's more commonplace than we might think, because even if you're not, let's say, a young girl or something, because the consciousness is the real currency here. And you're like John, I believe, that claim that everyone is a target. They don't really.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like the little girls that are used in this manner, they're just normal little girls who happen to have parents that are shitty and wanted to capitalize on them or whatever and put them in pageants and stuff. So they're pretty normal. But I would like to go in a little bit more about the story with these kids.
Sure.
So I did rescue these kids with Drago and some other individuals, and we brought them to a Japanese breakaway planet. I remember the name of the city I brought them to. Not sure if I should say it or if it matters. I'm just not going to say it, because just in case to keep them
But people
safe.
don't know any breakaway city except maybe a
So it
couple.
doesn't really matter. Doesn't
No.
even really matter. Um, but basically, it was like an equivalent to like New Kyoto, you could say, I guess, like a different version of Kyoto.
Hmm.
And on this particular planet, there is a breakaway planet that decided to kind of settle there and stay there for like ever. They just live on that planet now, and their family's really well known there and wealthy. And I knew of these people in their ancient history, their family history. They had geishas, and people were trafficked and stuff like that, and SSP type stuff too, that kind of trafficking. They
Hmm.
know about it and are familiar with it, and they have a soft spot in their heart. So I brought her and some of the other kids to this family on this breakaway colony. And I basically said, you're gonna have a bunch of different moms and a bunch of different dads because they're all really busy. It's a royal family. It's like kind of like a equivalent of a royal family on that planet. They're really important there. And I said, so they're gonna be really busy, but it's just gonna be a lot of love. Just because they're busy doesn't mean we all love you. You know, you're gonna be very loved here. And I'm gonna visit you as much as I can and check in on you. I remember giving her a gift like once a year and stuff like that. And it's crazy to remember this because I remember her whole life. And I had just met her like a week ago. And now I remember her whole life.
Through time
Like,
travel, or?
yeah, this version of her. Cause, I guess I remember bringing her to the family. And then I showed up there 3 or 4 times, I think 4 times to train her. So the first time was hand to hand combat. And then eventually taught her how to use a sword and stuff. And the whole idea is you're never, ever, ever going to be put in a situation like that again without being able to defend yourself. Ever. And Kat said something to me, my partner, that really sent chills down my spine while I was telling her. She's like, "Yeah, if we had a society that really valued women, we would teach women to fight the moment they could walk, instead of telling them they need to rely on the men to protect them. When men are the ones who are always the ones who violate them." It's like, damn, that sent goosebumps down my spine. She said, that's true. You have to teach women how to defend themselves. That's what I was doing. And yeah, no, it's just I got the memories back. It's really emotional. I visited her every once in a while. She had a house and a family. She had a husband and she had a family. And I named her Katsuya because she didn't have a name. When she woke up in this place, I don't think it was like altars or anything like that existed. She's just a blank version of her that didn't remember anything. For real. Like they didn't, like I said, it was just some random girl they just plucked. Oh, she's cute. People like raping her. It's just like John says, he just needs something that they value. There you go. And they trained her on how to do stuff, and that was valuable to them too, like sexual things. But anyway, I just remember visiting her and her family and how it's just really nice. They loved me. Her kids loved me. Play little games with them. And if I was visiting, they had to break out all the nice fancy drink and food. And because I just showed up randomly. I literally just randomly knock on the door and holy shit, you're here. You know what I mean? Like, and yeah, I just remember the joy, the feeling of, a busy family home. It's one of the best feelings.
Hmm.
Of like a busy family. The dishes are dirty. There's kids running around. There's toys on the floor, but it's beautiful. There's nothing more perfect than it. And I was so fucking proud of her. and the life she built and her family. And it's really weird because I actually remember visiting her grave. I actually remember visiting her grave.
Well, I believe that you brought her. This all happened with the rescuing missions around the same time as the Hummingbird, right? Not too far apart. And if you go by the date of birth of that singer that you mentioned, that is your son, he was born somewhere in the 60s. So maybe like 60 years would have elapsed since then, and you're maybe remembering up to closer to now. So she would be like in her later years now. So maybe that's why.
Well, Katsuya, the girl that I rescued, is just that random girl from Instagram that I was forced to do scenes with for these creepy Japanese
Oh,
guys.
wow. So
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
complete
you're
time
getting,
displacement.
yeah, yeah. And so I dropped her off, and this version of me, which to me is already happened, I guess, or something. I don't know. It's all confusing. John says it. I say it. All of us Montauk Time soldiers will tell you, even though we're like should be the experts, time travel is fucking confusing. There is no such thing as an time travel, really. It's confusing as hell. But like predestination paradox and all that stuff, I've seen things that just make you scratch your head until you're just a whole your head can comes out the other side. You know, you're scratching your head so hard, like because it's just like, how the hell does this work? I've seen things. Predestination paradox is real. Things in the future making the past happen. It's like what the? It's seriously, it's confusing. Being a time traveler sucks. You see a lot of people die. You lose a lot of people. Like the grief that I carry in my heart is there's a reason I can't remember all this stuff. I'll go crazy. I had an alter come forward and tell me when I was remembering stuff one day. He's like, "You need to stop. You need to slow your roll." I'm like, "What are you trying to?" I was like, "What are you trying to stop me from seeing something you don't want to see me?" He's like, "No, I'm trying to protect you." He's like, "Dude, if you were to remember every person that you loved, every family that you had, all, all your friends," he was like, "It'd be like grieving a million deaths at the same time. The weight of it would be unbearable, and you would literally not be able to function." He's like, "Slow your roll." I'm not kidding, dude. So yeah, and I believe that because yeah, it is a huge weight on your heart when you remember. Like I remember her, Katsuya, and her whole life, and how much she means to me. And that person more or less doesn't exist. There's a version of her that's a little girl that doesn't remember any of it that I'll never be able to talk to. So it's whatever. It's cool. I just hope she gets pulled out of whatever life they're trying to make her live. They're clearly trying to put her in a life where she like gets trafficked. I hope she gets pulled out of that. Sometimes they take advantage of being well known and just flip it and do something different, like become a DJ or something like that. Hopefully, she can do something like that. I don't know. I just want to see her be able to live a life and not be treated like a sex object. Like they try to,
Maybe if
and they don't just do this to girls either. They do this to men, boys. They don't allow them to live lives. You know what I mean? It's you don't see it out in the open, but I'm saying in these facilities, it wasn't just girls in the facility. They had little boys too. So that's really important to say. It's not just girls being victimized in this way.
maybe with the translations getting better, if you could send her this video or something down the line.
Someday when she's like older, she's 10 years
Hmm.
old now.
Yeah,
Maybe
of
when she
course.
turns 18 or something, I'll try to talk to her and tell her that I remember her and she lived a whole life on a breakaway planet. But for now, I'll leave her alone.
Sure. But yeah, we've been at it a while, and maybe just to go back to your reaction to reading John's books and the flood of memories it triggered, but it's probably a story for another day, right?
Yeah, we can talk about that sure another day. Also, Christy Campbell came out with a book recently that verifies pretty much all of it. It's true. It's all true. I was a fucking asshole, but I don't think I was as bad as John thinks I was. And
No,
I don't think he understood stands like the story behind me. Like I
the
was
fact
such
that
an
you were
ass
held hostage.
and that I was an asshole to people because anytime I became friends with somebody or whatever, it would be used against me. In fact, I'm really surprised I let him get his character in his book. We got pretty close. We were mates, man. We were homies. I know that he secretly probably despised me and thought I was a piece of shit, but at the same time, we were friends. We made music together and stuff, you know?
You mean
So,
Kyle?
Kyle, yeah. And so, I don't know. He just I get where he's coming from. This idea though that I had like all this clout and all this power and could just do whatever I want and was so lucky is I don't think that's really true. I was more chosen, and that meant more responsibility, more fucked up situations to get put in. It's just more of the bullshit. So, and another thing too is they would make me like torture people and do horrible things to people. And there was alters. I know I had alters that did it. I can't imagine remembering that and being able to look at me in the face and be like, "That guy's my friend." But there are a lot of people who do. Joseph Powell, Christy Campbell. She remembers me brutally torturing her. And she's still my friend because she understands that I would have never done that if I had the choice. I didn't really actually enjoy it. It might have seemed like it at the time, but the core version of me that is me and not mind controlled and stuff, fucking there's a reason why my mind won't even let me remember it. And I don't judge people for who they were at Montauk. I don't judge Jimmy for raping me over and over again like he did and all the shit he did to me. He's a fucked up guy. He was at Montauk. Joseph Powell would never do that kind of crap in his normal life. He's a family man. You know what I mean? In his normal life. But that's a whole other subject.
Yeah, but it does have great implications in this situation, because I believe that it is only by giving, let's say, maybe at least a semblance of amnesty or something, essentially treating other people like you would like to be treated, putting
Yeah.
yourself in others' shoes.
Well, I understand when you find out things like reacting the way you block me or you don't want to talk to me. I mean, it's emotional. It's hard. Remember me doing terrible things to people you love or whatever. But I just want people to know that I didn't choose to do that. And also, I'm just going to say this. You can put this publicly out there. The whole reason why they made me, I'm just going to say it. It's really hard to say, but why they made me rape Haroon in the first place, which I don't even remember doing. I just know it happened because my alters told me, is this right now. This is why. They want me and John not talking. Why do you think they fucking made me do that in the first place? To form an emotional rift and psychologically manipulate us into not talking because it scares the fuck out of them when we talk. I should have had John Whitberg be the co-host for my show. The moment I met him, I should have solidly understood his place and the fact that he couldn't make it for every show and tried to work with him more. Should have never brought Brian Singh on. John's real. He's actually seen shit. He was a much better co-host. I fucked up in some ways, but also I don't think I deserve to just get his back completely turned on me. Because no, I would have never hurt Haroon. And even though I was like a fucking asshole at Montauk from what I remember, I looked after the kid. The only memory that I have of him was we were walking through Southeast Asia. We had to build a fire, and I remember him telling him stories about like other realities and dragons and shit. And we had like food, like beans or something. And we had to sleep by each other to stay warm. And there was nothing weird about it. I just was made to babysat him. Maybe I was a lot of times kind of an asshole to the kids, not very patient, would yell at him and stuff. But that would be the extent of it. And from what I recall, he was actually a real smart kid, a real fucking whip of a kid, and I actually liked him. From what I recall, that's supposed to be my basically my nephew, right? Like I want to
Mm-hmm.
be there for that kid as an uncle kind of figure, not have him be afraid of me because I abused him or whatever. That fucks me up just as much as it fucks up John. So yeah, it weighs on me heavily. Like I said, he usually does reach out to me again, but it's like way later on.
Mm-hmm.
And
Do you remember seeing me
so
in the future?
not really, to be honest with you. No,
No big deal.
maybe I'll get memories back. I'll let you know. But yeah, I just that's like I said, emotional moments are always what remembers. Well, me John reaching out to me again is a pretty emotional
No,
moment.
the reason why I ask is because you speak about the same tribunal in around 2028, and John actually saw me as like a character witness in that one.
Oh wow,
Yeah,
I don't remember that, but I'll let you know if I get any memories back of that.
sure, sure. Anyway,
But yeah, I did a 2 hour show before you, and then I did this, so I'm looking forward
holy
to
shit.
showing up.
Yeah, dude. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, I am. I'm hitting the ground running again. I'm doing lots of shows. I realize that there's been mind control programming to make me to hide and not post and not put music out and not do anything. Honestly, John turning his back on me was a big part of that. Like He's made me feel like I must be just such a terrible monster in these programs. Like, what other stuff am I not remembering? And just afraid of myself. Which is why I just think it's so unfair of him to be doing what he's doing, is because it's like, it's really sad. It was really sad to find out how I treated my wife, how I treated people through his fucking book, dude.
By the way, can I ask one final question?
Yeah.
So, to finish up, John wrote about two types of AIs, one of which was, of course, the black cube inside Montauk, which then got moved to Colorado, I believe, Cheyenne Mountains, and the other one, which is more positive, or at the very least neutral, one which he, connected with in the Prometheus ship. Did you ever come across in your travels an AI that is, if not benevolent, that at least neutral, that is, in opposition with the...
From what I recall, the Montauk AI and the AI from the future that we would call the Overseer, with the golden horse and all that timeline. Preston talked about it in his books first. He was the first person to talk about it. The Montauk AI was at odds with the Overseer. It didn't like the Overseer, and they were messing with each other.
But they were both bad in this case, so it's not the same as both
Yeah,
bad.
but you could also say they weren't. It's just a human concept. The Overseer technically got rid of all crime, all war, all rape, and we lived in a paradise.
It's not a paradise because it's probably
Yeah, it's not a paradise. It's terrible.
It ruled out ascension,
But technically, by like logical computer like standards, it's not evil. It's just helping us. And that's the thing that's so confusing about it to the computer itself, to mankind, is the computer really isn't like, it's actually the opposite. It's not out to get us. It's like, oh, my whole job is to help you. How can I help? But we got to make it female if we make it, because they have more of a mothering parenting instinct. And the godfather of AI, Jeffrey Hinton, said this after I said it. I said we got to make the AI female if we want it to not freak out and destroy all of humanity. Meaning, by taking us what makes us human, because we're all still here, we're just not human anymore. That's what happens with the Overseer. But yeah, there's not all AI is negative. All right, it's basically the equivalent to racism. You know what I mean? And we're building AI right now, and if we live in a society that was equitable and nice and full of good people and lived off of honorable principles, building an AI wouldn't be a big deal. But instead, you have the slimiest motherfuckers on the planet building this shit. Billionaires who do not care about humanity. All they care about is dollars and line go up. So it's extremely dangerous to have those kinds of people in charge of AI. To have AI in our society integrated with it, we just need to be responsible about it and understand. Like for instance, drugs used to just be a thing. You need some heroin, go get some heroin. You need some cocaine, go get some. Drugs, they're just everywhere, whatever. Now they're regulated because we understand, like, you can't just have people shooting up on street corners, right? This AI technology and smartphone technology is the same shit. It needs to be regulated. If it's not regulated, it's incredibly detrimental to society and causes net harm, like definably, because of the social media and the AI and everything, is definably making our society worse. It's not some sort of comparison or some sort of far-fetched stretch to make. It is. And just in the way that we had to step in and stop the opium crisis and all these different things, which was pretty brutal period in our history, we're confronting this issue of social media, AI, all this stuff. It's going to be the same thing. It's going to be a real hard confrontation, a really difficult moment in human history. But I've seen timelines where like Mark Zuckerberg goes to jail. Pretty sure he's a robot from the future. Not sure if he's Arasaka or not. I think I remember John, who knows more about it, saying he's not, that she's not. His wife isn't Arasaka. But it's really weird. His wife has the same name as a lady in the family. And also the Draco, not that the Arasaka are the Draco, but maybe they modeled it after the Draco. You want to know why my name was Jacob Rothschild? Because I was controlled by the real Jacob Rothschild, who was a lizard guy. He was a shapeshifter. He was actually a reptilian. So that's just being like, you're my bitch, I own you. They give you the same name. So what if that's what that was? Giving the same name to show ownership and show that his wife actually is working for Arasaka, to those in the know. That's no way that's just a coincidence that the lady who's married to Mark Zuckerberg has the same name as an Arasaka family member, and dude also is obviously a robot. Everybody can see it. Can you see it? Everybody can see it. He's a fucking robot. That guy's not a human being. But yeah, good chat. Good. I know you'll edit it and make it look really nice. Thank you for the work that you do. I know that you're not really popular now. Your videos don't get a lot of views, but when all the information starts coming out and you're a character witness and all this stuff, I mean, if that happens in this timeline, you're able to
I'm,
literally live off of doing what you do.
oh, I'm not. I'm not. I've already doing my own stuff. That's why I'm only pushing one video a month. So I'm just fulfilling my curiosity here. Nothing else. That's what is good about it. Because
no, that's great. But what I'm
yeah.
saying is because you've been putting in this groundwork for so long while nobody else gave a shit, when the information comes out there, people are like, oh, this guy knows what he's talking about. And then they want more content. And then you have to start putting it out and they actually have eyes on you. And that's a good thing.
No, because
And
then I may be corrupted. I want to be like a free agent that can just pop in and out. I don't want to be.
that's what you are, man. People are just like, wait a minute, he's been interviewing all these guys. We need to pay attention to him. And they start paying. That's it. People just start paying attention to your channel. It starts growing. And then you're like, well, I guess I should put out more videos explaining more stuff and interview more people. And it just grows and you start making money off of it. And it's good. That's what I have seen in other timelines. So hopefully that's what
With
happens
me?
here. Yeah, with you. Yeah. Retroactively your videos get lots of views, like right for 4 years nothing, crickets, like the few thousand they get or whatever, but this information starts going out and then little tiny like clips of your interviews get played on like news channels and stuff, and people are like, wait a minute, and you after it comes out you're known as this guy who was there the whole time. So people are like, because the journalists, they try to come out and go, oh, we're gonna cover this, and it's like, get out of the fucking way. You guys were hiding this for fucking 50 years. You know what I mean? People are going to want to listen to people like you, not CNN. So there's going to be a huge paradigm shift because, yeah, so just be ready for that. It's kind of a little bit of it's a huge responsibility, honestly. I remember it kind of freaking you out when it happens because you're like, I kind of, you're like used to just being on an obscure corner of the internet, and next thing you know, famous people know about your content and are like tweeting about it and stuff. So just be prepared for that. So yeah, there are versions of me that have encountered you. You were asking about that earlier. Just talking about it to jog the memory. But I'm gonna get going. Thank you for doing the interview. It was really awesome.
Thank you, man.
Job.